Great to see you, Pauline. Now, you live about an hour down the hill, and as we talk about the Bush Summit, I started today by talking about this forum being, wanting to seize opportunities, talk about the challenges for regional Australia. But I've got to say, when we're talking about Toowoomba, there's a lot of positive things to talk about. And we spent a lot of today talking about the massive successes. Do you share my optimism, I should say?
We've got a lot of positives. Australia has been a very country that we've gained so much out of.
Yep.
But it concerns me where we're headed now. It's not the country that I grew up in. And I'm frightened where we're headed. I'm frightened for future generations. What is it for them? Kids now can't even buy their own homes unless they've got help from their parents. Do they have job security? Our industries, manufacturing, farming sector, we're losing all this, and every time we lose it, we lose in expertise. And that's what the problem is. I've travelled this country extensively to rural and regional areas. They're tired, they're worn out. There's no future for a lot of these small communities. And it's all because, I'm telling you, politicians. We're in the hell of a mess because of the decisions that have been made by politicians and bureaucrats that have never had and still don't have a vision for this nation. We don't have that strong leadership. It's all the politicians are doing what they need to do now till the next election to ensure they get their jobs back. So there's no unity that I see from our politicians to make decisions for the future. We should be unified to do with defence. Why is it one government makes the decision, the next one comes in and changes it and costs billions of dollars for the taxpayers?
Are you talking about the way the Federation, and you're magic, by the way, because you hear that the engines have stopped?
Yes.
Yes, great. Well, thank you for that, Pauline. I appreciate it. So you're talking about the way our Federation is shaped, or are you talking about the hyper-partisanship at a federal and often state level
In
as
general,
well?
in general,
Okay.
even state. State, the way the states are, even for the federal as well, the way it's going, Laura. My concern, escalating crime, people can't own their own home, rental accommodation, high immigration, foreign ownership of our housing. All this is impacting our standard of living, way of life in this country. And I continually speak out about it all the time. But it's like falling on deaf ears. I'm saying what a lot of the people out there are saying, and what they all say, I've got the guts to say what you're thinking. But the politicians are not listening. It's like they've lost contact with grassroots Australians, and they're not putting into place what we need to drive this country to prosperity, which we used to have.
I just wrote down something that David Crisafulli, the Premier, said at the start of this summit. He says, we shouldn't fear people coming into our country who sign up for our values. We should fear governments that can't plan for it. Do you agree with him?
Look, this country was built on the migrants that have come here. The convicts that were forced to come here, the migrants have come out here for a new way of life. But it's now to pull back. We're bringing too many people in this country. In the first 2 months of this year, 217,000. In May alone, also another 125,000. They're only bringing high immigration to prop up the GDP because we would be in a recession. You don't use immigrants for that. And you've got to bring in the right people that are going to be compatible with our culture and lifestyle and our laws. Otherwise, you're going to have divisions. And I've spoken about this since 1996.
Yeah.
And you've got to bring in migrants also that will share our values, want to be Australian, and it's a real combination of a lot of things that's happening. But now, pull back, because high immigration means lack of housing, loss of rental accommodation, and the Australians are feeling it.
Well, we heard the Mayor earlier talk about how he's so proud of the diversity here in Toowoomba. Not just diversity of people, but diversity in the economy, diversity of resources, and diversity of people. You're concentrating on a number, but do you acknowledge that places like Toowoomba want these migrant workers in here? Because sometimes there's just not the people to do the jobs.
Laura, you can't bring in more people if we don't have the housing. When I have people that are living in
Who's going to build the
cars,
houses, Pauline?
Who's going to build the houses?
Yeah, so,
well, isn't it about time we got 900,000 of those people sitting on the backsides doing nothing? We're paying them welfare. Why shouldn't those Australians be out there working? Why do we have to rely on migrants coming into the country that should be filling the jobs of the Australians out there? Why do I hear all the time that Australians don't want to work? Why do I hear it? Why do I hear that businesses can't get anyone to apply for a job? So we've got to look at the reasons why.
We are at nearly full employment at just over 4%, so there's something not quite right.
If you believe that, Laura, 1 hour's paid employment a week is classified you're not employed. You're not unemployed, that you are unemployed. Or if you're going to college or training or voluntary work, you're not classified as it. But a lot of Australians out there are possibly underemployed, trying to make ends meet. Yes, you do have the Australians, and I take my hat off to them, those ones that have 2 and 3 jobs a week. But when you have Australians that have been on unemployment benefits for 10, 20, 30 years, and yet the government does nothing about it, I have a real problem with that. And we're bringing in migrants into the country, and I'm all for it, and I backed bringing in those ones from overseas, from Vanuatu and the islands, to actually pick the fruit because they couldn't get Australians to do it. Farmers need that support by all means. But a lot of those people are actually sending that money back out of the country. So you can have all your backpackers, you can have your foreign students, you can have that because we need the work, but that money is leaving the country. So all the foreign students that are here working, they export about $15 billion a year back to their own countries. So we're actually making ourselves poorer by seeing the money leave the country.